A while back, NPR ran a campaign called Driveway Moments. The idea being that the content on NPR was so compelling, you would sit in your driveway just to hear how the program ended. And around that time, I had a genuine driveway moment. I was listening to This American Life, and they were doing a story about a man and his 4-year-old daughter. And the story took place around Christmas, and the 4-year-old daughter was learning for the first time who Jesus was.
We went out and bought a kid's Bible and had these readings at night. She loved them, wanted to know everything about Jesus. So we read a lot about his birth and about his teaching, and she would ask constantly what that phrase was. And I would explain to her that it was, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
One day they were walking down the street, and one of the local churches had erected a huge crucifix. And the daughter asked, "Daddy, who is that?" And her dad realized that he hadn't explained how the story
Forget to say
ended.
the ending, yeah. Well, he ran afoul of the Roman government. This message that he had was so radical and unnerving to the prevailing authorities at the time that they had to kill him. They came to the conclusion that he would have to die. That message was too troublesome.
A little while later, it's January, Martin Luther King Day, and the daughter's preschool is canceled, and the dad decides to call in sick, have a daddy-daughter day. And they're at a diner having some brunch, and the daughter sees a picture on the cover of the newspaper and says, "Well, Daddy, who's that?" Of course, it's Martin Luther King, and the dad explains that, well, that's Dr. King. He's the reason
why you're not in school,
you're not
today.
in school today.
So we're celebrating his birthday. This is the day we celebrate his life. And she said, "So who was he?" And I said, "Well, he was a preacher." And she looks up at me and goes, "For Jesus?" So I said, well, yeah, he was a preacher, and he had a message. And she said, "What was his message?" And I said, "Well, he said that you should treat everybody the same no matter what they look like." And she thought about that for a minute. And she said, "Well, that's what Jesus said." And I said, "Yeah, I guess it is. I never thought of it that way, but yeah. And that is sort of like do unto others as you would have them do unto you." And she thought for a minute and looked up at me and said, "Did they kill him too?"
That comment, "Did they kill him too?" it stopped me cold. I had never thought about it. These two men that were separated by thousands of years, by thousands of miles, that they had these nonviolent messages that were so terrifying that they had to die for their beliefs. And it made me wonder, if I held a belief so holy, I would be willing to die for it. And you know what? I didn't like what I learned about myself. What overwhelmed me most of all about 2016 was all of the people who stood up and who raised their voice. I think about the Coalition of Immokalee Workers and those tomato pickers down in Southwest Florida who have been fighting to end human rights abuses and modern-day slavery in the tomato field since 1997. And in 2016, they launched a boycott of Wendy's, the national fast food chain, imploring Wendy's to stand with them on issues of human rights and dignity. I can almost hear them saying, "We need you to hear us. We need you to see us. Our lives matter." I think of the people all across the country who came together to protest each time a black man was killed by the police and crying out, "We need you to see us. We need you to hear us. Our lives matter." I think about all of the people who joined the Sioux Indians to protest the Dakota Access Pipeline, standing up for that life-giving water and crying out, "We need you to see us. We need you to hear us. Our lives matter." And in November, people all across this country stood up and they voted their conscience. And they voted in an attempt to cry out, "We need you to see us. We need you to hear us. Our lives matter." When I think about 2017, my hope, my prayer is that we will finally start to listen. And that's a belief that I'm willing to fight for. That's a belief that I'm willing to give my voice for. And I hope that you'll join me. I hope that you will speak up against injustice, that you will say, we need you to hear us. We need you to see us. Our lives matter. And I hope, as always, that you will be well, that you will try hard, but more importantly than any of that, that you will do some good. After all, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. We're so glad you joined us at Unless.TV today. We do what we do because of you, and we can only do it because of your support and the support of our friends over at gilead.rocks, makers of the one and only Gilead balm that does, in fact, make the wounded whole and heal the sin-sick soul. Find out more about them by going to gilead.rocks. Find out more about us by going to Unless.TV. See you next time.